On my mission to adapt lenses to Micro Four Thirds and see what works, today we have the Rokinon Cine DSX 135mm T2.2. This is the most recent, most up-to-date coatings, the DSX, and then also the T2.2 is basically equivalent to an f-stop number of a 2. T-stops are for cine lenses, and they take into account the actual reflectance and transmittance of the coatings. Whereas f number is just the mathematical relationship between the opening at the back and the size of the element at the front. I just recorded the entire intro, and for some reason, the D800 was like, no, I'm not going to record video. I got this lens on B&H used for $235, which is much cheaper than an autofocus 135 f2 you could probably find. I've used this for 2 jobs so far, once on the D800, which is filming me, because I don't have another mirrorless body, and then another time on the GH5. On the GH5, with such a long reach and a really nice aperture, it was producing really good bokeh. And there was tons of background separation. It was really amazing. It felt like shooting on a larger sensor. And this lens is sharp. It's incredibly sharp. It's the sharpest lens I own. Now, there are other optical problems that we will talk about later. A few notes about the lens itself. It's made of plastic, but it's very durable, nice, premium-feeling plastic. The bayonet is, of course, metal, which is really good to see. The aperture is declicked because it's a cine lens, but you probably won't be moving this off of T2.2 very often, unless you want a little bit more depth of field, but if you bought this lens, you probably don't want that. Now, of course, it has 0.8 mod rings, so you can use a follow focus natively. You know, if you're using it for photography, holding it around like this, it probably is going to destroy your hands. But it's not too bad. You can use it really well with gloves, which is a plus side, and your hands won't ever slip off the gears. It's incredibly smooth, it's a linear. I really enjoy focusing like this. It's so much better than the fly-by-wire manual that you have on a lot of modern autofocus lenses. Manual clutches on autofocus lenses are the only way to go. Now, the lens hood is bayonet style. It's pretty large. It's a good chunk of the body. It's made of a bendier plastic, which I actually really enjoy. My GH5 with the 35-100 on it survived a really nasty fall because it landed right on the hood, and it cracked the hood, and everything else was perfectly fine. So, you know, this is the hood you want. You don't want a metal hood. Metal hoods are fucking weird anyways. You probably will want to have your hood on if you're using intense lights. The lens is pretty large for Micro Four Thirds standards. Here's the adapter, here's the lens. And it definitely is very heavy. I mean, look at all the glass in there. It's crazy. On the GH5, it's very front heavy. I assume it would be a little bit better on a GH7 or maybe a G9 Mark II, but it does strain my hands if I'm holding it one-handed out like this. I was also curious about macro and working distance, so I did take some shots with a 10mm macro ring. I wasn't stoked with the results I got, but you can definitely use a macro ring, something as short as 7 or 10mm, to just bring in the minimum focus of it and get a tighter shot of a person, maybe get some detail shots that might be useful for your film. Next, I'll show you some images I've taken with the setup, and we'll also talk about those optical flaws. This one is from my first day with the lens, testing out new compositions I can actually make look good using a shallow depth of field, which I couldn't really accomplish on Micro Four Thirds previously. You can get a good look of how smooth this transition is. This one is a little deceptive. This was 6400 ISO, which is super high for the GH5, and an 1/8 second at T2.2. It has been denoised, but look at how good it looks. It's crazy that using full frame glass wide open on a Micro Four Thirds body doesn't matter, because the corners are cropped off. It's great. I think this encapsulates like what you can really do with this lens. I mean, this is like just gorgeous, right? It would be very hard to do this on Micro Four Thirds without this lens, you know? The Olympus 1.2s I don't think go even close to 135mm. Minimum focus is 0.8 meters. I don't think this is the reproduction ratio. I must have used macro tubes. I'm not seeing the same issues with macro tubes that I'll show you later when I shot them today. This is the first image we see that starts to show us the overcorrections that kind of make the bokeh, if it's super high contrast, look really crisp. I'm not a fan of this going on here and all of these. I mean, it's kind of cool conceptually. And this definitely used macro tubes. This also shows the really high clarity cooked bokeh in a high contrast scene. Here's a flare test. We have some narcissism right here and a huge glow with the sun. Then over here we have ghosts, and these are some teardrop caustic flares right here. If we go to the next one, we see that they change shape and they get kind of pink. They're really pretty, but they're quite distracting. And you see this narcissism just really comes out there almost across the entire frame. Actually, yeah, you can see pink across the entire section here. So yeah, flaring is not very good. And this is the DSX, which is the, I think, third iteration of coatings, most recent too. So, take it as you will. This one's really nice because it is a standard size preview, but you can look at the detail here in the hairs. It's very good. This lens is so sharp. Most of the images that I've reviewed from this lens, the Loka goes from magenta in the close focus, and then it goes to cyan or greenish hue in the far focus. Close focus here is blue, like a bluish violet, and you can see all through here. Far focus is yellow. See, all the way around here it's all yellow. But I always shoot this wide open because that's kind of the point, and it's a little disappointing. But again, if you're not printing these at ginormous scales, people won't notice. And if you are, you should be doing, selective color reduction and whatnot. Here's close focus with 10mm macro rings. And you can't really see the curling that happens a lot when you use macro tubes. I think this is because the rear element is so much larger because it's a full frame lens. And again, I'm a pixel peeper, but this highlight right here should be pure white. But even zoomed all the way out, you can tell it's kind of pink from that Loka. And we can see the green, just all these fake colors show up. There's even pink right here. To show you how extreme this is, here's this image. The entire fly is pink. This fly should be black or gray. But the entire thing is back focused, and so it's just covered in this pink hue. This isn't a huge problem for photography. You're not going to keep a photo where the fly is entirely back focused, except at macro distances like here. Something is going to be out of focus and it's going to fringe. In video, I can actually see this being a problem because you're going to have things go in and out of focus and they're going to change color. This is my first time noticing it's this bad. Here we can see how the bokeh reacts to a sunlit, highly reflective surface. It's pretty standard, nothing to write home about. Nothing to complain about too much either. These two images are very interesting to me. We zoom into 100 and we see that there's a huge lack of clarity around anything that's out of focus. We're focused here on the thorax. And you can see the eyes. You can see it really well on the flower petals too. Look at this halo around everything. Look at that. It's really not pleasing. This doesn't happen when you use the lens without macro tubes, which is thankfully great. But, you can see these halos around the white spots on the antenna. On this frame, we're focused on the face, and you can see how deep the blacks are. But when we're just off of focus, you can see how bright they get from the haloing. These headphones are a good example, too, of both the sharpness and the amount of detail you're allowed to get out of this lens. This is a 20 megapixel micro four thirds sensor. So the pixel pitch is quite high. There's lots of potential for detail. I mean, it looks really good, but upon closer inspection, not even that. I'm gonna retract that. When you look from back here, it's almost worse. You can see a line of pink, a line of green, a line of green, a line of pink. It's even worse when you do video. Here's a good one. You can see the fall off is kind of gross. In this one, you can also see that the dark spots of these branches now have a magenta hue because they're back focused. It's gonna show up everywhere. It's luckily not as bad as the next lens I'll review. I usually just turn those images to black and white. That's how bad it is. My Lumix glass does not do this. And I know it's like Rokinon. It's not the most pro level glass. This is their best lineup though. And it's reminding me of a vintage lens that I can't really do anything with. It's incredible for the price, and if you like manual focus, go for it. But the Loka's crazy. The Loka's crazy. And that's not a deal breaker for me. I just think that's something that you should know. Thank you for watching this installment of Will It Micro Four Thirds? My answer is yes, it can, and the next one is going to be a really bad vintage lens that I first tried and kickstarted this series. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.